I had always believed that space was silent, not because sound couldn't travel, but because it stripped meaning from everything you thought you understood. Out there, beyond the regulated trade lanes and corporate colonies, silence pressed against the hull like a living thing. It was in that silence that I lived, captaining a single long-range exploration vessel named Solace Drift. She wasn't much to look at, patched alloy plates, engines older than most flight academies. But she was mine. I took contracts no one else wanted. Dead systems, lost beacons, anomalies that paid well precisely because no one came back certain of what they'd found. I preferred it that way. Alone, accountable to no one, drifting between stars that didn't care if I existed. The day everything changed began like any other salvage run. A fractured distress signal had pulsed through my long-range scanners from an uncharted system, one with a star so dim it barely qualified as alive. The signal wasn't human in origin. Its harmonic structure didn't match any known registry. That should have been my cue to turn away. Unknown signals meant unknown rules, and unknown rules tended to get pilots killed. But curiosity has a gravity stronger than fear, and credit's even stronger still. I altered course, dropped out of slipstream, and let the Solace Drift coast toward the source, unaware that I was already being watched. The signal led me to a derelict structure orbiting a dead planet, an ancient station, half swallowed by debris, its geometry wrong in a way that made my eyes ache. No faction markings, no transponder, just age and intention baked into metal that shouldn't have lasted so long. As I maneuvered closer, my sensors flared with readings I couldn't parse, energy signatures that behaved more like thought than radiation. I docked anyway. When you spent years alone, danger starts to feel like company. I cycled the airlock, suited up, and stepped into a corridor that smelled faintly of ozone and something floral, impossibly preserved after centuries. That was when she appeared. She wasn't waiting at the end of the corridor like some dramatic apparition. She simply stepped out of the wall, as if the metal had decided to let her pass. Tall, luminous, her skin a soft iridescent silver that reflected the dim emergency lights, she regarded me with eyes like folded galaxies, deep, layered, alive. I froze, every survival instinct screaming. I raised my weapon, but she tilted her head, studying me with calm curiosity, as if the idea of being threatened was new to her. Before I could speak, she did something stranger than any attack. She smiled. "You took your time," she said in perfect, unaccented standard. I was beginning to wonder if your kind still listened to quiet. I should have run. Instead, I asked the only question that made sense. "Who are you?" She stepped closer, close enough that my visor fogged from the warmth radiating off her. "I am Lyriath," she replied, "and this station was once my cradle, but it is dying. I need passage." "I'm not a taxi," I said, though my voice shook, "and I don't carry unknown passengers." Her gaze flicked past me, toward the distant shape of my ship through the docking ring. "You do now. Against every protocol, against reason itself, I brought her aboard the Solace Drift. The moment her bare foot crossed the threshold of my ship, the lights flickered. Systems hummed, then synchronized in ways I'd never programmed. My neural interface spiked with feedback, not pain but recognition, as if the ship itself was greeting her. Lyriath closed her eyes and exhaled softly. When she opened them, she looked at me with something like satisfaction. "This vessel accepts me," she said. Then, without hesitation, She placed a glowing hand over my chest. And so do you. I staggered back, heart racing. You don't get to decide that. I snapped. Her expression softened. I already did, long before you were born. Over the next cycles, days, weeks, time behaved strangely around her, Lyriath explained. Her species, the Ilari, were not conquerors or explorers. They were stewards of probability, caretakers of branching futures. Millennia ago, they had learned that the universe did not move forward in a single line, but bloomed endlessly, shaped by choices. To prevent collapse, the Ilari bound themselves to key nodes, individuals whose lives intersected with countless possible futures. Humans, volatile and imaginative, produce more of these nodes than any other species. You are one. Lyria told me as we drifted between systems, stars sliding by like distant memories. A convergence point. A bearer of choice. I laughed bitterly. I'm a nobody with a broken ship. She shook her head. You are a fulcrum. Wherever you go, out comes bend. At first, I resisted her presence. She took no assigned quarters, choosing instead to sleep near the core, humming melodies that made the engines run smoother. She touched panels without interfaces and coaxed more efficiency from systems I'd written off as obsolete. Slowly, against my will, the solace drip became something else. Faster, quieter, alive. And I began to notice changes in myself. Dreams I couldn't explain. Memories that weren't mine. And an unshakable sense that I was being guided towards something vast. The turning point came when we were intercepted by the Concord fleet near a contested border. They demanded we power down and submit to inspection. Lyriath watched from the shadows as their cruisers locked weapons on us. I felt a familiar pull of fear, and something else beneath it, a branching awareness of possibilities. Fight, run, surrender. Each path unfolded in my mind with startling clarity, consequences rippling outward. Choose, Lyriath whispered, her hand resting lightly on my shoulder. This is why I came. I chose defiance, but not violence. I opened a channel and transmitted data Lyria fed directly into my interface. Proof of Concord war crimes buried under classified seals. The fleet faltered. Orders conflicted. Within minutes, they withdrew, their command structure fractured by truths they could no longer ignore. As the cruisers vanished into slip space, I stared at my trembling hands. You did that, I said. We did, she corrected. From that moment, I stopped pretending I could go back to my old life. Lyria had revealed the truth she had withheld. The Ilari were nearly extinct, bound to their stations. They had become static, while the universe changed around them. To survive, one of them needed to break tradition, to bind not to a place, but to a person, to live through motion, choice, uncertainty. And you chose me, I said quietly. I was drawn to you, she replied. But when I stepped onto your ship, when your vessel recognized me, that was the moment of claiming, not ownership, partnership. Our bond deepened in ways that defied language. We shared thoughts, not constantly, but when it mattered, when a decision could tilt a system toward peace or ruin. We visited worlds on the brink and nudged them gently toward better outcomes, not perfect ones. Lyriath insisted perfection was a lie that led to stagnation. Choice required risk. Loss, growth, but balance demands sacrifice. Eventually, The remnants of the Ilari Council found us. They believed Lyria's choice endangered the universal weave. They demanded she return, sever the bond, and allow my future to collapse back into probability. When she refused, they threatened annihilation, not just of her, but of every future she had influenced through me. I was ready to fight gods if I had to. Lyria stopped me. "This is where my choice becomes complete," she said, "and where yours must stand alone." She offered the council a bargain. She would dissolve her higher form, becoming fully temporal, mortal. In exchange, they would leave humanity untouched, their futures unbound by Ilari oversight. The cost was immense. She would lose her immortality, her cosmic awareness, her connection to the grand weave. "You don't have to do this," I said, voice breaking. "I already have," she answered softly, "the moment I stepped onto your ship." The transformation nearly tore the Solace drift apart. Light flooded every corridor. Systems screamed, then settled. When it was over, Lyria lay unconscious in my arms, warm, fragile, undeniably alive. The council withdrew, their presence fading like a receding dream. Lyria awoke days later, confused, human in ways she had never been before. She laughed, cried, learned hunger and fatigue and fear, and love, not as an abstract cosmic principle, but as something immediate and terrifying. We stayed together, not because destiny demanded it, but because we chose it every day. Now, years later, the Solace drift still roams the stars. I'm no longer just a salvage pilot. I'm a witness, a participant in futures still unfolding. Lyria stands beside me on the bridge, watching new suns rise. She no longer claims me with glowing hands or prophetic certainty. She doesn't need to, because the truth is simpler than fate, quieter than prophecy. The moment she stepped onto my ship, she claimed me before the stars. And every moment after, I chose her back,